Hey,
What's up,
how's it
man?
going, man?
Good.
Long time. Long time
Long
no talk.
time. Yeah, for real. How you been?
Good. Good. Just kind of hanging in there, working from home, doing that whole staying away from the outside thing. You know how it
Yeah.
is.
Yep. Unfortunately, I do. I'm actually working in the office still. Um,
Oh, really?
so it's interesting. We have a smaller office, so
Yeah.
it's okay, I guess. We all kind of stay. We have like cubicles, and no one's really close to each other. It's
Okay.
interesting.
So,
We do like this office luncheon once a month, and
yeah.
we normally do it like in this conference table, like super close together. So this
Yeah.
time we did it like in our parking lot. We all brought like little lawn chairs and stuff, and we're all like 6 feet away,
That's
eating
funny.
Chick-fil-A.
Dude, that's
So
funny.
it was
I
interesting.
think I think I've seen a lot of like Zoom happy hour calls, a lot of like conference calls
Mm-hmm.
where people are still trying to I mean, at the end of the day, you're still interacting with these people, but
Yeah,
I think it's kind of cool that they're changing it up that way, a lot of people.
yeah. We're kind of being forced to adjust. A lot of the companies and just people in general. Everyone's got to adjust, and we got to stay connected. That's kind of what
Seriously.
that's my idea with this podcast. If you don't mind, I'll do like a little intro of it for
Yeah.
everyone listening because it starts recording right away. So we're already into it.
Nice.
But yeah, basically what I'm trying to do here is just have a community podcast where I reach out and stay connected to people and gain new perspectives from either people that I already know and just get to know better or complete strangers. On Monday, I
Right.
actually talked to a girl from Michigan that I had never met before.
Yeah.
She found me on TikTok and she saw what I was trying to do,
Really.
and she was super cool. She was super knowledgeable, talking to me about like mental health and obviously they're being impacted pretty bad over there in Michigan.
Hmm.
So she's trying to figure out ways to have that human connection when everyone's forced to stay inside. So that's kind of my goal. It's just everyone trying to stay connected.
Yeah, I
But yeah.
think it's pretty cool, man. I've been keeping up with the stuff that you're doing with that page and all these different things, and I think it's cool. A lot of people don't really take time out of their day or even
Hmm.
acknowledge the fact that there are certain things that you kind of need to do to keep yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually all there. But I
Yeah,
think this is a
definitely.
good reminder.
Yeah, I'm hoping, it's going to be super beneficial, like for me personally. Like I kind of took, obviously with this WIM Today thing, it is something that I'm trying to do for everyone else, but it's helps me a lot being able to talk to people and stay connected and learn because people have, gone through life, had different experiences, so there's still
Hmm.
so much to learn from different people. So it's
Everyone
really
has a story.
beneficial. Yeah, exactly.
What
Um,
I know, like your background, I think you were also in the sort of business slash
mhm.
marketing field, right?
Yep.
In school. So how did you kind of get to this? How did you like what led
So,
you here?
um, so as long as I can remember, at least in high school, I've wanted to start my own business. Had that
Hmm.
kind of entrepreneurial bug, and
Yeah.
I've gone through trial and error with starting businesses with friends and on my own. And then I met Peter. You know Peter,
Yeah, I know Peter.
and we were thinking through some ideas together because he's similar, trying to start his own business. Um, we had ran through a couple ones. We wanted to do like this photo booth thing at one point, um, but he's always been, or at least as long as I've known him, he's been about spiritual growth and community and loving everyone and inclusiveness. And it's actually, I don't know if I've ever put this story out there, but we were just on a hike, uh, or not a hike, but we took a trip to Julian, and
Mhm.
he we were like taking pictures and like pretending to model. And I think
Yeah.
this someone, I think he said he was like anti-model model club, like the
Oh
anti-social
yeah.
social club. So kind of playing
Yeah.
with that. So I went and I started an Instagram with that name, excuse me, with that name. And the idea behind that was to post pictures of people that don't get recognition in like normal media, like it's the
Yeah.
skinny models, and that's how the media portrays perfection or whatever.
Hmm.
So I wanted to go against that grain and be more inclusive, of all shapes and sizes, nationalities, and everything. So once Peter saw that, he bought into that idea, and
Hmm.
that's pretty much where it started. You know, this inclusive community, and then it kind of grew into what it is today. Yeah, so that's the very very initial start to WIM.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've interacted with Peter a number of times.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that I've seen of his has always been just about positivity and
Yeah,
love and acceptance. And so it's kind of cool that you guys are out there pushing that message. There's really nobody else, I mean, that I can think of that I know personally that's kind of really out there doing that kind of stuff. So it's really cool that you guys are there.
yeah. I'm hoping we can grow this thing into something big and
Hmm.
inclusive. Have you heard of Yes Theory?
No, I haven't. What is that?
So it's I don't want to call them a brand. That's a YouTube channel, pretty much. It's these three guys, and I just found out about them in, I want to say, October
Hmm.
2019. And so we started WIM in April or March of 2019. Um, but as soon as I saw them, like 6 or 7 months into this journey, I was like, they are the epitome of what I want WIM to become. So
Wow.
it's basically these three guys that um, they they have a lot of different videos. It's a variety of things, but a lot of their theme is seeking discomfort and like facing your fears and
Hmm.
growing as a person, becoming the best you that you can become.
Yeah.
And they're all about positivity as well. And I think everyone should check them out. And if I had to, they're one brand that I would say is similar is similar to WIM.
Hmm.
So I don't want to say we're the first to do it, but obviously we're not gonna, be exactly the same as them. We're gonna have our own kind of
Yeah.
style to everything, and I don't think they're doing community podcasts. But
Man, I love the podcast idea. I think for a long time I've always thought about kind of doing something similar.
mm-hmm,
It's just I've never really gotten around to it, but I think just talking to people is just awesome. Like you said, getting different perspectives and
mm-hmm.
learning about people is just and teaching people what you know. I think is really cool too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you should. I know you're super big into finance. If you start a finance podcast, dude, now's the time to do it.
Yeah,
And you should use this app, dude. It's really convenient, and it
I
it distributes your podcast to all
oh really?
the major ones like Spotify,
Hmm.
Apple Podcasts. It does that for you automatically. So,
That's cool. Yeah, I've never heard of this app. I took like
mm-hmm,
a brief look at it after you mentioned it, and I mean, there's a lot of
mm-hmm,
stuff here, so that's pretty cool. But you're
yeah,
right. I mean, a lot of people nowadays, unfortunately, don't have much to do except for,
yeah,
you know, digest, you know, whatever they're doing, entertainment, TV, books, podcasts, stuff like that. So it's definitely a good way to start.
mm-hmm.
Um, I just obviously have to kind of think about what I'm doing.
Yeah. You
Finance
have a
can
lot
be.
of good content like that you post on your Instagram.
Hmm.
So I think that's a starting point, and then yeah, I for me it's easier doing this one because there's no one topic that I have to stick to.
Right. Yeah.
It's endless. Whoever
Hmm.
wants to come on, they can come on, talk about what they're passionate about, or ask me questions about WIM like you have, or just about my other hobbies or interests or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's pretty endless. But with finance, obviously there's plenty to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a lot of misconceptions and a lot of misinformation that's out there. Um,
Right.
I mean, I don't know if you're seeing even now, there's a lot of like pyramid scheme stuff going on. I see
Oh,
on my
dude,
social media.
what is that? The $100, $800 one? Have
Whatever
you
it
seen
is,
that one?
it's all pyramid scheme stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's a lot of people who I think can benefit from a little bit of knowledge,
Oh,
spitting a
for
little bit of
sure.
truth. But yeah, man, I feel like in in the last few years that we've kind of known each other, I really took a deep dive into this finance stuff, and it's kind of overwhelming, but it's really so rewarding at the same time.
Yeah.
Um,
So you just started then in the past few years, or what was your kind of your background? How'd you get interested in this field?
yeah, I mean, long story, I guess long because it's probably gonna take, it's gonna be long.
Okay.
Growing up, growing up, I think that my parents, specifically my dad, were like a pretty big influence on my life with what I was doing, where I wanted to go. Um, my parents were immigrants, so I'm first generation born, and they've always had really strong work ethic. My dad,
Gotcha.
he's a contractor. He does construction, landscaping, stuff like that. And my mom used to work waiting tables. But being the firstborn, he's kind of always on my butt about certain things and like where I should be taking my life, going to
Mm-hmm.
school, stuff like that, just because they didn't have those opportunities. And I mean, ever since I was little, man, uh, they would dress me up in a suit and tie. They'd take me to the bank with them. Like all I listened to was like business, business, business,
Mm.
business. Um, so like naturally, I kind of felt that that's where I was gravitating.
Yeah.
And then like after high school, I didn't go to a 4 year straight away. I didn't really know how to apply. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
school I went to didn't really necessarily help me get there. I went to junior college, and so I was there for like 3 years, learning what the hell I wanted
Gotcha.
to do. And then I knew I needed to transfer, and so when I transferred, I knew I wanted to go to SDSU. And the transfer program there was pretty interesting. It was confusing. The degree I had through my associate's degree only put me into one of two majors, basically. One was business, general business, which can be probably anything. The other was financial
Yeah.
services, which is the major that I graduated with, and I had no idea what it was. I had no clue. So I was just kind of walking into it blind. Um, but basically, the coursework at SDSU in that major, all it is CFP preparation. So CFP, Certified Financial Planner, is what it stands for. So it was coursework in insurance planning, tax planning, investment planning, retirement planning, and then your capstone was basically a combination of all of it and creating financial plans. Um, so that's kind of where I started gravitating towards. It just kind of came
Mm-hmm.
naturally. I wouldn't say it was maybe my first choice. I always wanted to be like a National Geographic photographer or something, taking pictures of
Interesting.
like wildlife or nature. But I, my life went that a totally different way, and I'm totally fine with it. Um,
Gotcha. Do you
yeah,
feel like you do you feel like you made the right choice? Like obviously, like well, for example, um, it's not the same, but growing up, I played baseball
yeah,
and I did it for like 10 years. And by the time I got to high school, I was kind of like starting to feel over it.
hmm,
And I felt like it was because it was like my dad's thing. Like he kind of forced it on me.
yeah,
Like maybe it wasn't my passion.
hmm,
So I broke my wrist freshman year, and that was kind of like my way out to not play anymore.
hmm,
But
yep.
like looking back, I regret it. But just as far as my dad, kind of me feeling the pressure from my dad, did you feel that from your parents? And do you think maybe it was their course instead
Yeah,
of yours?
that's a good question. I mean, I know a lot of people feel that way, and I've never related to that. So a lot of the times people are
Mm,
saying, always do things for yourself, which I totally get. But
mm-hmm.
I think I just happen to like it. And then coming from my background, I feel like it was just useful. There were times in my life where, had I had some of the knowledge I have now, things would have been different for my family. And so I think me now and, having that knowledge and being able to share that knowledge to other people just makes it all the worthwhile. Especially because, I mean, being a minority, I feel like there's a lot of people who don't have access to financial planning, for example, who otherwise would. They just don't think that they can. And so having
Mm-hmm.
someone who looks like they do in this profession probably makes it a little bit easier for them to want to
Oh
reach
yeah,
out.
yeah, definitely. That's cool. So you've just passed your CPA, right? Very recently.
So CFP. So CPA is for
CFP.
yes. CPA I think is probably harder.
Okay.
That's for like accountancy. But CFP,
Gotcha.
I passed it in November of last year, and so basically, like I said, all of my coursework in college, and I graduated in 2018. I was there for 3 years, so I spent 6 years total out of, in school, out of high school. So for three
Mm-hmm.
years, I was basically preparing for this thing, and then out of college, I got a job where I work now, in the planning department of my firm, and a lot of basically the expectation is you're going to take the CFP exam and you're going to be a certified financial professional. So that way you can kind of really start working with people and helping with financial planning. And
Gotcha.
so I took the exam twice actually. So I took it the first time in March of 2019. I failed. It was so discouraging. Having led up to that, I felt like I had spent so much of my time in life getting ready for it, and then I failed, and so it kind of really dragged me down. But then I don't know, you just kind of find a way to buckle down and really, you know, persevere. And
Mm-hmm.
so I changed everything around. I changed my studying habits. I stopped, you know, doing all the things that I was doing. I wasn't, I was spending 2 hours after work, 3 hours after work, just studying for, like 2 months. I went to LA for a 4 day, full blown 8 hour a day review course. And
Dang.
fortunately enough, the day came and I felt like I had a pretty good handle on things. And then as soon as you click, it's so funny because the first time I took it, they didn't tell you your results until a month afterwards, which was really
Oh, geez.
nerve wracking. So you take the
Yeah.
exam, and then they say, basically on the screen, it says, you'll find out in a month or whatever. And then this time around, you find out instantly, and I knew that I was going to. And
Hmm.
I could have sworn it asked me like 5 times, "Are you sure you want to submit? This is your final submission, and then you're graded, whatever." So my heart was racing, and then, I got the congratulations, you have passed the exam, and
Nice. That must have been the best feeling
it
ever.
was amazing, man. It was so good. Kind of weird situation though, because you're in like this really quiet testing center, so you can't say anything. And all you want to do is
Hmm.
just like scream and jump up for
Just
joy.
yell out.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean,
Yeah, dude.
it really was just such a great feeling.
I know I saw you studying for what felt like forever. It felt like, all of your Instagram story posts were, you studying and hardly ever, you going out and drinking or whatever.
Yeah, your priorities have to kind of
So
change a little bit.
yeah, props to you for really buckling down there and,
Hmm.
doing what you got to do to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, kind of being this like representation and I guess I don't know if that's the right wording, but for the minorities, so people can come to you and feel comfortable,
Hmm.
knowing that they have someone that's going to help them with their financial future.
Hmm.
So that is that your that's kind of your future goals there is
Yeah.
to kind of build up that clientele.
So yeah, so ideally, like what I want to do and where I see my career headed is me managing my own clients, and really just helping them with their financial picture. A lot of the times, I mean, there's so much uncertainty with what's going on, especially now, like with this whole
Yeah.
pandemic thing, people are out of jobs. This now is really the time where people need answers or need help. So, and I love helping people. I think it's my life's purpose is to teach or relay the knowledge I
Mm-hmm.
have. I just found it through finance, which is kind of neat because it's a very obviously useful thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely see that kind of being the way I'm headed is really just having my own relationships with different families and people, and helping them achieve what they want to achieve. If it's people that fall kind of in the same category as me, if it's younger people, older people, white, black, brown, pink, yellow, whatever, really anybody. But you know,
Yeah. So you're basically gonna do that under the firm that you're currently working for, or is that like something you would do like as your own
yeah.
business? How does that work?
In finance, it's such a heavily regulated industry that there's just so many different obstacles and hurdles that you kind of have to jump over. If you're associated with, say a broker, you kind of have to have their permission to do outside business activity and
Mm.
stuff like that. But eventually, hopefully soon, sometime, I'll be able to kind of take a pivot in my career and really make strides to having my own clients.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, obviously I like where I'm at now, but your career and like my goals really kind of have to be in the front seat. So eventually I wanted to kind of move on, and find somewhere that I can do that. Right now I'm kind of in a more hidden role, kind of more numbers and behind the scenes and stuff like that. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I definitely want to
So
be.
you have to like move up um, the ladder in your current firm in order to get into a position where you can start like bringing clients in,
Yeah,
or
it it's
okay,
so
gotcha.
it's kind of tricky, honestly. Like there's no clear step or pathway in this industry as far
Mm-hmm.
as getting to that position. I mean, you can enter it from the side of like planning, like I did, where you're a financial planner. You might not necessarily be working directly with clients. Maybe you're helping an advisor. You're on an advisor's team doing that, or
Gotcha.
you can enter as a junior advisor where you're maybe doing cold calling sales and stuff like that, which is something I definitely don't want to do. um,
Yeah.
but really, it's kind of about who you know and really just finding the right opportunity. There's always going to be a need, especially now. I think there's like some statistic that shows the need for people in this profession is going to increase just because a lot of the people who are doing it now currently are kind of aging out or retiring. There's kind of a
Mm.
gap because of the 2008 recession. A lot of people weren't looking for finance jobs, so there's really a big like gap in the industry as far as the people servicing clients. But it can be within my firm if the opportunity is there. It can be outside of my firm if there's an opportunity there. But there's like no
Gotcha.
clear path, I think.
Okay. So like with your now that you have this certification, can you um are there obstacles still to like kind of get over in order to be able to like I don't want to say legally, but like help someone,
Yeah.
give someone legit financial advice, or can you do that now?
Realistically, I mean, anybody can call themselves a financial advisor. Honestly, it's just kind of a blanket term.
Mm-hmm.
It really is up
Yeah.
to the client or the person who's like seeking out this advice to do their due diligence. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't. They kind of end up with these sharky people who, are only looking
Yeah.
out for themselves or getting commission based off of putting them in this investment, even if it's not good for them or whatever. There's
Mm-hmm.
also people who do online financial coaching, which, is a smaller subset of that kind of industry where you're not necessarily going into the specifics of, each number, each financial statement, or each area of that person's life, but just more so like basic tips and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
with the CFP certification, that kind of is the starting point, I think, for anybody who's listening and looking for financial advice. I think it's kind of the starting point, at least the minimum requirement they should look at when they're looking for people to give them advice, because a certified financial professional, CFP, is a fiduciary, meaning they're bound by the Board of Ethics of the CFP board to act in the best interest of the client. Otherwise, they can't hold themselves out as a CFP. So if that means, not being able to charge commissions based off of, some ulterior motive that they have because they're going to get paid more, then that's kind of what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Gotcha.
yeah.
So yeah, just before you take financial advice from someone, or especially if they seem sketchy, make sure they at least have their CFP and do a little bit of research on
Yeah,
them.
and don't get me wrong, I don't mean to knock like the people who don't have it. I've just kind of been
Mm-hmm.
wired to think that it's kind of like the gold standard. But there's a lot of people
Right.
who don't have it, and a lot of it could have been just, they got into it later in their life. They have families and they don't really have the time to study like I did, fresh out of college and stuff like that. But
Gotcha.
it's definitely a good place to start.
Okay, for sure. That's really good to know, especially for people who are out there looking for financial advice right now, which is probably a lot of
Hmm.
people, especially people that have lost their jobs, and people that got their stimulus check. They're not sure what to do with
Hmm.
it. I know you post a lot of um, advice, like I've mentioned a couple times on your social media, about like what people should be doing with their 401ks.
Hmm.
I don't know if you posted anything about the stimulus check or any of the stimulus package,
Yeah.
but maybe you want to go over some of that stuff and your
Yeah.
recommendations.
So kind of on the same kind of track of being a CFP, there's certain requirements, and I can't really go into specifics about suggesting, you should put it into this investment or
Mm-hmm.
this stock just because whatever. There's a lot
Right.
of requirements before we can get there. But I think for people who are really unsure, if they don't have a resource, I think you should really start to address like the important areas of your life. Now is the time where a lot of people who are out of a job, are probably waiting for unemployment or something like that. It's always smart to have some sort of emergency fund or savings, or some sort of account where it's a rainy day fund for times like this. Usually the
Yeah. Right.
suggestion is you have about 3 months worth of expenses saved up. I know that's hard for a lot of people who are living paycheck to paycheck, but starting to sock away now would be um, a good thing to do. Hopefully this isn't a message that's too late to a lot of people, just because times are tough now. But um, things like paying down
Right.
debt if you can, high interest credit cards, you don't want those to accumulate or grow. There's just so many different things, and it really varies, case by case. My
Definitely.
yeah,
So.
my
I,
observation though from a lot of people our age has been that they have troubles with cash flow, so like spending more than they're earning,
hmm,
right? So like a
right.
good thing to consider with that is, taking a percentage automatically from your paycheck and, yeah, having it transferred to a savings account that's not easily accessible, something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's good advice. So I was just thinking, you know, if you're lucky enough to have a job right now and still be working, excuse me, and you still, you get this stimulus check, which is just kind of the icing on top of, your current paychecks that are
Hmm.
coming in. For me, I personally just put that all directly into my savings
Yeah.
account, one that kind of earns, a decent amount of
Hmm.
interest. Um, would you recommend that? Is that a
I
pretty
mean,
solid
I
step?
think any saving that anybody's doing is smart. Honestly, the alternative is spending, right? Opposite of saving is spending. So,
Yeah. Hmm.
I think you bring up a good point though. Is a lot of the times like these big banks that we have, a lot of our main accounts through, they're not really paying much. So be smart
Yeah.
about where you're putting your money. It's your money after all. They should be giving you something for you giving them their money, your money. So things like online savings accounts usually have higher interest rates that you can get versus say like a big name bank is going to give you 0.00 whatever percent. So you get
Hmm.
like two
Yep.
cents for every $1,000 you have. Uh,
That's exactly what just happened to me. Forever I'm still banking with Bank of
mhm.
America, but forever I had a savings
Yeah.
account with them, and I earned like nothing. And it wasn't until just 3 months ago that I set up it's an online savings account, like
Yep.
you said, with
Yep.
Ally
That's a big
Bank.
one.
And I think originally I was getting 1.7% interest, I want to say, and it's dropped to 1.5,
Yeah.
but I hear nothing but good things about them. Their customer service is, they're always quick. You're not on the
Hmm.
phone, on hold for like an hour. But so basically, I moved pretty much all my savings over there, but I left enough for like an
Yeah.
emergency fund with Bank of
Yep.
America. So that's just a transition that I made very recently. I know a lot of people, especially our age, they haven't really taken those
Hmm.
steps. It's kind of, um, a lot of us are like, we're focused on travel and, spending and
Yep.
experiences, which is great. Everyone wants to live their
Hmm.
life. But I think it's really important, and you'll probably back this up, but it's really important to save early so you can live comfortably
Yeah.
later, especially when you have a family and you have all those extra bills. When you have to
Yeah,
raise kids.
definitely. I think the trade-off, it's a trade-off like anything in life really is, experiencing
Hmm.
now versus experiencing later. But I mean, I guess to kind of backtrack on that point is you can kind of have the best of both if you're smart about the way you do it. You don't have to put yourself in a hole to really do much, right? If you want to travel once a
Hmm.
year, twice a year, you can do that. I mean, you just have to make sure that you're being wise with the money you're spending. Like don't
Right.
go to, whatever really fancy restaurant twice a month. Cut that down to once a month or
Hmm.
once every 2 months or once every 3 months, and you can have that money saved. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I'm so wired, I think, to look at it from like a long-term perspective that it's hard. I think I'm sometimes like I don't really go shopping for myself that much. Like I don't really do
Right.
the crazy spending like I used to do, um, like on like festivals or like whatever tickets
Hmm.
and shoes and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
um, the way that I kind of try to tell people is like you're spending now and you're experiencing now, which is great. But then because you're able to earn money now, really, because you're still working. But when you're older and you're not
Yeah.
earning money, all you're doing is spending. So you have to make sure that you have enough money saved up to spend for the rest of your life. People think that you retire and then that's kind of it, but you still have another 60 years, 50 years of living where you're not earning money, you're just spending it. So you have to really be smart about your money that way.
I don't think a lot of our, I don't want to speak for everyone, obviously, but I talked to June, our mutual friend, and my
Yeah.
roommate about this on my last podcast. That the older generation might not um, might not have had this much knowledge about saving and
Hmm.
retiring, and like diversifying and
Yep.
everything. I feel like a lot of our parents aren't prepared for
Yeah,
retirement.
definitely.
My parents
Yeah,
specifically.
that's something that I worry about.
I don't know about
Um,
yours.
and maybe, I mean, I'm not sure kind of the background for you and your family or whatever, but I feel like a lot of the
Hmm.
burden for us is kind of worrying about our parents. And that's
Yeah.
kind of, I mean, the reason is probably, like you said, they didn't have access to that information. Maybe they didn't have access to financial professionals, someone who can kind of guide them the right way. And so you're kind of stuck with the burden of supporting family, which, isn't a burden if you love your family, but it's still hard on you. Um,
Yeah.
I definitely think, it varies. I feel like some people probably have more knowledge. Some people are probably not worrying as much, but it kind of goes both ways.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I feel definitely like I think there's needs to be more communication and transparency. Like I haven't talked to my dad
Mm-hmm.
enough to know like what he has for
Oh,
retirement. I just know he couldn't retire and like, like you said, just only spend for, 40, 50
yeah,
years. He definitely doesn't have that ready for him. Plus he owned his own business, so it's not like he had like a company matching his 401k contributions or anything. I don't even think he has a
yeah,
401k. So I do feel like, there is some responsibility on my shoulders to make sure he's comfortable when he
yeah.
does retire.
So I mean,
But yeah.
so my dad also has his own company, and I think I'm in the same boat. Like he doesn't really.
Hmm.
I'm not sure, what he has or his plan is for, when he's gonna finally stop working. I think he said that he was
Right.
going to have save whatever he can each time he gets paid, or pays himself from his business, and probably like buy a house down in Mexico or something. It's probably way cheaper. But
Mm. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, one thing you mentioned now is does your dad have a 401k? Like if you're a business owner, maybe you don't have an employer sponsored 401k, but there's still a lot of things that you can do. A lot of businesses can open up their own investment or retirement accounts, that they can contribute, through the business and get, obviously, special tax treatment, stuff like that. A lot of people don't know that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Um, and so it's important to educate. Yeah,
That's
it's really
interesting.
important to educate. I mean, my fear is that people are always going to kind of have that I'll worry about it later mentality. Um, and
Hmm.
I mean, I used to procrastinate all the time in growing up in school, and it kind of never worked out in my favor. But yeah, I mean, you wait until it's, too late, and then you're kind of SOL.
Is there a too late for like I want to say my dad is if I feel bad I don't know his exact age but I want to say he's
Hmm.
55. Um, I don't think that's too late for investing in a 401k, but he's obviously not going to have the returns like someone that starts investing
Yeah,
at
yeah.
25. But do you think that's like he should start investing like right now, or what do you think would be the
I
best thing for
think, I
him?
think,
Just obviously you don't
yeah,
know everything about his situation,
I
but
think, better late than never, honestly. There's a lot of
mhm,
people, and we can kind of get into it, but you might know, you might have taken some courses on investments and stuff like that in college, but the money that you have now, say you have $100 in cash right now saved, right? And you want to buy
mhm,
$5 worth, or not $5. Say you want to buy $20 worth of groceries. That $20 worth of groceries,
mhm,
thanks to a really fun thing called inflation, is going to be, $25 next year. It's going to be, $28 the year after, $35 the year after that. So the value of your
mhm,
money is decreasing each year that it's just sitting in cash. Um, think about like
right,
how much a bottle of Coke used to cost, 60 years ago. It's the same bottle of Coke it is today. It's just worth a lot more. And so you think about that time horizon, you got to keep up with that. And I think the best
that's a good point.
way, in my opinion, for someone to do that is by putting money into investments of some sort, something that's going to appreciate, in value. Um, there's there's like a whole lot of
Right.
studies that show, how much if you put $100 away a month and invested it in the market at 6%, how much you would have at the end of 40 years if you're 20, 30 years if you're 30, 20
Mm-hmm.
years if you're 40, 10 years if you're 50. And it's a big difference each time. Like, it's
Oh
the
yeah.
power of compounding interest is crazy. um, but to
Yeah.
that.
I did take a class on
Mhm.
that, and that kind of sparked my interest. It was in
Yeah.
community college, and just this one professor that kind of visually put it on the board. 25 if you start investing at 25, 30, 35, 40, and like you said, it's like
Yeah,
exponentially
that's what it
different.
is
Um,
exponentially
it's
increasing.
insane.
But I don't think it's ever too late. There's obviously, depending
Hmm.
on a number of factors, things that you can do. But, the one thing I would hate is to see, the one thing I kind of like, I always think about this is, for a person who's in well into their 60s, maybe even early 70s, and you see them working still, is that something that they wanted to do on their own? Or is it because they were forced to do because of
Right.
lack of preparation sometimes? It's kind of sad to think about.
Right. Yeah, I know, but some people, they end up in that situation, unfortunately, and I feel like I don't want to be pessimistic, but because of everything going on going on right now, like a lot of people, their retirement accounts, even if they did prepare, if they planned on retiring, anytime soon, um, obviously the stock market is, you know, somewhat recovered
Yeah,
from the little
yeah,
crash that we had. For some reason, it's recovering, but a lot of people are saying that we could have a
yeah,
recession um, in the next, however long, coming up with everything going on with the virus. So, um, I guess my question was going to be if it's a good idea to invest now when there's a lot of projections that it's going
hmm
to decrease for someone that plans on retiring in the next like couple of years
yeah,
because the projections are their investment is going to
yeah.
decrease.
That's a good question. That's kind of one of the issues, and a lot of things that people try to get out of financial professionals is, do you know what's going to happen, or is now a good time, or whatever. We really don't know what tomorrow
Right.
holds. So it's hard to tell. Like,
Yep.
we could have hit the bottom, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was really bad. But I think
Right.
there's a statistic. I wish I had it on hand, but it basically says, basically the point is to be involved, to get involved in the market no matter what. Now, obviously, depending on everybody's um, uh, like current situation, if you're a year away, is that something that you want to do? What are your projections? What
Mm-hmm.
is your risk tolerance? How much risk are you willing to take on, based off of your time horizon? There's so many different
Right.
factors that have to be considered, but um,
Gotcha.
I think it's important to have somebody to kind of ask those questions. A lot of people are scared. A lot of people keep money on cash, but the reality is, sometimes things happen, unfortunately, because they're out of our control, with the stock market and pandemics and stuff like that, where people might be forced to delay retirement. I won't get into specifics, but
Mm-hmm.
I've seen situations in where people were heavily invested in one company, and that company did well. It did maybe up, you know, 50% all time, and then because they were invested all in that company and that company kind of tanked, they had to delay their retirement by, a few years. And so
Mm-hmm.
those are realities that people have to face. Um, but
Yeah.
it's kind of scary thought. So
Yeah. I know I'm throwing a lot of you know, random scenarios at you, and I know it's like
yeah.
they're all different. Yeah, you'd have to take like a closer look, and like you said, like no one can predict
Like,
the
who would
stock
have
market.
thought that, this virus would have happened
The
and
freaking
everybody's
virus.
working from home for 3 months.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. People were, I guess saying we were due for um, like another
Yeah.
recession type of thing. I guess it's kind of a
Yeah.
cycle every 10 years, but it's not like anyone would have predicted a freaking
Yeah.
virus to happen. It's
Um,
insane. Are you like able to stay positive with
I
everything
think
going
I
on?
am. Well, I see it from like the perspective of, the stock market and the money and stuff like that. Just
Mm-hmm.
because I'm young, and so I know this will pass. I know that I have years to
Yeah.
go before I have to worry about things like that.
Yeah.
But I do worry about um, how things are going to change, like outside of the economy or whatever, just like the day to day. Are people going to be fully back in action come May, June, July? There's really, this is kind of
Right.
unknown. Yeah,
It's a lot of
a lot.
uncertainty. Yeah. Yeah, I hear, things about there, being a second wave in the winter. Um, but, like you said, luckily for us, people that are younger, we have
Hmm.
plenty of time to
Yeah.
recover. As long as, the people close to
Yep.
us stay healthy, the rest
Yeah.
is secondary. Um,
Everybody should definitely
so
stay away
yeah,
from the beaches. I feel like I've seen too many. I feel like people out in Florida are like
people
throwing
are,
parties and just don't care.
yeah, freaking Florida. Um, yeah, I don't know. People didn't take it serious
Hmm.
to begin with, and luckily California, um, like all things considered, I think
Hmm.
we didn't get it too bad. Knock on wood. Um, but I know East Coast was pretty bad, and then they had Mardi
Oh my
Gras in
God.
Louisiana or in
Yeah,
New
that's bad.
Orleans. Like literally, it was like in March, like early March, like just like a week I think before everyone pretty much
Yeah.
went on lockdown. So that's they had a pretty big breakout there. And then I want to say it's Michigan or somewhere around there. That's like I know in Kentucky there are people like protesting,
Oh,
like let
yep.
us go back to work. Like they're out in the streets, like in big
I've seen
mobs,
that.
like protesting.
It's just the
And it's
common
like
sense.
people. I think people are they're trying to pick a side. Like either it's just a flu, it's not that bad. The economy is more important than X amount of
Yeah.
human lives. So there's people on that end, or there's people that are like, take this shit serious, stay inside, lock
Hmm.
down for however long you need to do
Yeah.
it for. Um, People are getting kind of
Yeah.
angsty, I guess. They want something. They
Yeah.
want something to happen,
I
one way or
think to
another.
that point, I mean, uh, it's definitely new territory for a lot of people. I think I've seen a group of people, you see through social media what kind of people are up to, and there's certain people that should probably not be
Hmm.
doing things that they're doing, having quarantine parties or whatever it is to pass the time. But I think for the most part, a lot of the people, a lot of millennials, people in our generation are pretty smart about this. I'm worried for the people that are kind of blowing this
Yeah.
off, like the older generations, our parents, maybe, boomers who are just like going about their day as it normally was, because they don't want to change their
Hmm.
lifestyle, their routine. That's kind of who I worry about.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it is pretty similar. The older people. I worry a lot about this financial assistance because there's a lot of gray
Yeah.
area. Like small business owners like aren't really able to get these loans that the stimulus package is
Hmm.
kind of trying to make access to. Um, and then people are waiting like a month
Wow.
for unemployment. We had to wait, like a month for this stimulus check. So it's all these people that were living paycheck to paycheck, and now we're not getting anything for
Yeah.
however long. Um, and if those people can't get food or whatever,
Yeah.
then
It is tough.
it's tough. it's tough for a lot of people. Luckily, we're not one of those people, but you
Yeah,
feel for
definitely.
sure.
I wonder kind of what, I mean, hopefully a lot of those people are smart enough to already kind of be on their toes about this kind of thing and be actively looking for the assistance that is there. But um,
hmm Hopefully, they have like some sort of support
mhm,
system in place where if they can't afford groceries, or they can't go out to
yeah,
get groceries, hopefully they've got someone close to them
definitely.
that can help them out. But on a more positive note, I read something. I actually didn't get to read it, but I saw like a notification pop up that apparently sunlight, um, it I don't know if kill is the right word, but it kills the virus quickly. Like
So,
just direct sunlight. The virus
so
does not
going
like
outside.
direct sunlight. Yeah, pretty much. So it's like,
Yeah,
if we're gonna go with that solution, then everyone's gonna flood the streets
yeah.
and get their vitamin D.
I think,
Um, yeah, so I don't know if that's the solution, because obviously that's how it spreads, is humans
yeah,
being
I
outside
think,
close to each
yeah.
other.
I mean, I obviously don't have any understanding of medicine or viral disease or viruses and diseases, things like that. But I think
hmm
people should still take care of themselves, man. It's
Yeah,
easy to kind of get in this weird, timeless warp of reality where you're just inside all day and really not doing much. And that can be pretty, it can affect you, you know. So get your sunlight, man. Go outside, walk
definitely.
the dog, do what you can to stay positive, reach out to
Yeah,
people, talk to people, listen to podcasts, you know, whatever it takes.
right. Yeah, we have to get as close as we can to,
Hmm.
our normal lives, I think. Um, as long as we're staying safe. But yeah, going on a walk. Obviously, obviously, tons of
Yep.
people live in apartments, and they don't have like a front yard or backyard
Hmm.
or even a balcony or whatever to just kind of go out and sunbathe or whatever. But going on that walk, as long as the weather is decent enough, can be a real game
Yeah.
changer, I think, for a lot of
So,
people. Definitely.
what are you guys like doing? Are you guys coming up with any cool things to pass the time, like any games, any challenges, stuff like that?
Um, so in terms of challenges, we just finished a push-up challenge that I kind of like um, pushed out on social media. So I have these challenges that I'm doing every month for this year that I had planned in January, and mm, no, April was going to be wake up at 5 a.m. and do 100 push-ups
Jeez.
every day for 30 days. But once this kind of lockdown hit and the gyms were closed, I was like, I'm gonna start this push-up challenge early, because uh, otherwise
Hmm.
I'm just not gonna get my exercise. So that just finished this week, so that was fun, and a lot of people participated on Instagram, and I'm gonna try to gather everyone's videos that they put on their stories and make a quick little video and put it up
Hmm.
on this YouTube channel here. So that should be cool. There's also, I haven't done it personally, but I know a lot of people are doing like
Yep.
virtual happy hours where they're like FaceTiming
Hmm.
or whatever, getting on Zoom and just having drinks with their
Yeah.
friends virtually. So that's definitely something to do, even if you don't drink. Just FaceTiming a friend and um, doing whatever. There's also this. I'm trying to think of the name of it. What's that app called? Talking to my girlfriend. The game one.
House
House
party.
Party. So it's it's kind of like um, I guess it's like Zoom or
Hmm.
FaceTime in a way, where you can see each other through your camera, but there's games on there, so you can play
Oh,
like Heads Up. You
that's
can play
cool.
trivia games. So that one's really cool, and I want to say you can have up to like
Yeah,
eight
that's
people
pretty
in
cool.
there. So I recommend that one definitely to, anyone who's trying to stay
Yeah.
entertained and stay connected. Definitely. What about you?
Um,
What are you trying to,
I
what
think,
have you
I
been
mean,
up
for
to?
me, it's different. I have a lot of stimulus here. We have 3 cats and a dog and a hamster, so there's a lot going on
Mm-hmm.
here.
Gotcha.
But it's
Yeah.
also different. It's also kind of strange because I'm still working like my regular sort of schedule. So I'm like kind of zoned out from like
Mm-hmm.
8 to 4 o'clock, and I'll take breaks here and there. But
Yeah.
it's I mean it's pretty. I think I'm doing okay. I think I'm not really. I was never really worried about myself as much as I'm sure other people kind of are worried about
Mm-hmm.
how to pass their time. Um,
Yeah. Especially people
yeah.
that, live on their own. Like obviously I have 4 roommates, so there's plenty of humans still to interact with,
Yep.
and we have a dog. But yeah, anyone that lives alone and they stopped working, that's got to be,
No.
can't be easy,
Yeah.
being isolated like that. So, stay connected however you can. And especially if you know someone that's like that, that lives on their own, or, maybe they have just one roommate or whatever, or whatever their situation is, you should still, try to reach out to your close friends or even friends that you haven't talked to in a while. Just make sure everyone in your circle is doing
Definitely.
okay.
I love that. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of, the whole point of this little podcast here. Obviously, I try to reach out to people in shorter conversations because not everyone
Hmm.
has an hour to give me of their time. But yeah, just staying connected however you can. I think it's super important right now, just for everyone's
Yeah.
mental health, really, so
Yeah.
everyone
So
doesn't
we
go
all make it out of
crazy.
this thing.
Yeah, however long it lasts. I know there's predictions for all different timelines. Like some people, I want to say we'll start shifting back to start phasing, whatever the phase is that the government just put out, start phasing somewhat back to normal life in
Yeah.
the summer.
I
But
agree. I
we'll
think
see.
I think there'll be more movement with changes in the summer. But like I said, I think things are going to be a little bit different. Um, no,
I don't think we'll go back to
I
normal,
don't think anybody's ever going to
not for a
shake
long
hands
time.
again. But we'll see. Yeah.
Man, I miss like hugging people. I when I go see my dad, like I bring him groceries sometimes, or just
Hmm.
dropped him off some masks the other day,
Yeah.
and it's like can't hug my dad. Pretty sad, but at least still get to see him as long as you keep your distance, and you guys can have a big long
Once it's all
hug
over.
once it's safe. So yeah, I don't know if I have any more questions for you, man. This has been really good.
No, I
You got
mean,
anything
I
else you want to
think
add?
I think it's awesome. Again, like what you're doing, trying to keep people connected and learning about things and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So I'm definitely all for it. If anybody has any like general questions, unfortunately, I can't give specific advice or anything like that. They can
Mm-hmm.
reach out to me. I love teaching, like I said.
Why don't you
Yeah,
drop your
it's
Instagram handle or something?
at the real Rafa
Let them
man.
know.
Um, so I love teaching. It's kind of I feel like it's my life's purpose is helping people who need help. So reach out to me, and it's really it, man. Appreciate this.
Yeah, even if you guys are like, not willing to kind of reach out to him as a stranger, just, follow him, and he posts a lot of really valuable information on his Instagram
Hmm.
story posts. So you learn a lot
Awesome.
from this man right here.
All right,
So
Jacob.
yeah, all right, man. If you have anyone that you think should hop on this and talk to me, I'm up to talking to anyone, stranger or not or
Sounds
not.
good.
Just let me
We
know.
all got we all got
I'm
time.
here. I got
We all
time.
have all the time.
We all got
All
time for
right, man.
sure. All right,
Yeah,
man.
no problem. Take care.
Thanks for coming